Hello friends. Imagine a personality forged in the celestial fire of Aries and sharpened by the sly cleverness of the monkey. What happens when the boldest sign of the Western zodiac meets the most cunning creature in the Chinese calendar? You get someone who can light up a room, charm a crowd, win a debate, and disappear before the dust settles. These individuals, Aries born in the year of the monkey, are rare firecrackers, magnetic, mischievous, endlessly curious, and dangerously driven. But what lies beneath their charm? What makes them loyal lovers or risky partners? Trustworthy allies or unpredictable schemers? Let's dive deep. Love, passion first, questions later. Love for an Aries monkey is never a slow burn. It's a blazing, untamed fire that ignites on sight and demands immediate attention. There's no testing the waters with them. No cautious courtship, no delicate probing. If they're interested, you'll know. They come in like a storm, bold, unfiltered, unapologetically intense. Their Aries sun throws logic out the window, leaping heart first into passion, while their monkey moon is already calculating the angles, assessing the emotional terrain, and deciding whether this love is a game to win or a war to wage. It's not that they don't believe in love. They believe in it completely, just faster, louder, and more recklessly than most people can handle. Their romantic world is driven by adrenaline. This is someone who falls for the sparkle in your eye, the way you challenge them, the scent of mystery you carry. It could be the person across the bar who dares to look back at them without flinching. It could be the colleague who's just as sharp-tongued and ambitious. It could even be a stranger who happens to cross paths at the right moment, because timing and drama mean everything. And once they're in, the Aries monkey doesn't hold back. They love with theatrical flair, turning ordinary moments into cinematic scenes, passionate rooftop kisses, midnight road trips, handwritten poems on napkins. But don't mistake grandiosity for depth. While the gestures are big, their emotional consistency takes time to develop. This sign combination thrives on variety and novelty. If the relationship feels predictable, stagnant, or emotionally heavy too soon, they may start looking elsewhere, not always physically, but mentally, energetically. They need partners who can match their speed and keep them guessing. Intellectual sparring, sexual tension, and playful resistance are all forms of flirtation for them. They're not looking for a doormat, they're looking for a duel. A confident equal who can parry their charm with just enough resistance to make the chase worthwhile. Seduction, for them, is less about sweetness and more about strategy. Yet underneath the bravado lies a surprisingly tender side, one they don't show easily. The monkey's calculating nature guards their deepest feelings like treasure behind a trapdoor. And Aries? Aries hates feeling vulnerable. So what do you get? A lover who seems fearless, but secretly fears being known too deeply. Who will share their body without hesitation but hesitate to reveal their heart. Trust isn't freely given, it must be earned over time, through loyalty, intelligence, and the ability to ride the roller coaster without falling apart. Once they do trust you, you'll find that the wild lover becomes a fiercely protective partner. Their passion becomes loyalty, their fire, a guiding torch rather than a destructive blaze. But here's the hard truth. Love with an Aries monkey is rarely simple. One moment, they're lighting up your world with surprise picnics, cheeky texts, and endless excitement. The next, they're distant, distracted, buried in their latest obsession or surrounded by people who fill their social tank. It's not personal, it's instinct. Aries monkeys are easily bored, constantly stimulated, and deeply afraid of emotional stagnation. If you need constant reassurance or clingy affection, they'll retreat, not to hurt you, but because emotional intensity needs to breathe. They love fiercely but not suffocatingly. They need space like they need oxygen. So, what kind of partner keeps an Aries monkey? Someone who's secure, witty, and just a little bit hard to pin down. Someone who can challenge their ideas, laugh at their ego, and offer them both mystery and support. They're not looking for someone to complete them, they're looking for someone to run beside them. To co-create a life full of stories, conquests, and lessons. They may test your patience, question your love, and flirt just to see if you notice. But if you pass their tests, if you remain both thrilling and grounded, then congratulations, you've captured the heart of one of the rarest, wildest lovers in the zodiac. Because in the end, an Aries monkey doesn't love halfway. They love big. Their passion is volcanic, their loyalty unmatched, and their devotion unforgettable. Just make sure you can take the heat, because when they love you, they'll burn down their world to build a new one around you. Marriage, adventure with a side of mayhem. For an Aries monkey, the concept of marriage is both intriguing and intimidating. On one hand, they're drawn to the idea of having a partner in crime, someone to build, explore, and win at life with. On the other hand, the traditional structure of marriage, the quiet domesticity, the routines, the expectations, can feel like a padded cell. They crave movement, discovery, and the thrill of spontaneous change. The thought of forever excites them only when it's laced with constant evolution. If marriage feels like an open field where they can run free and invent their own rules, they're in. If it feels like a cage, no matter how golden, they will find a way to bend the bars, or break out entirely. They aren't the types to rush down the aisle just because society says it's time. Many Aries monkeys postpone marriage well into adulthood, not due to commitment fears in the classic sense, but because they're committed to freedom, to personal growth, to self-exploration, and they need a partner who understands that self-development isn't a phase, it's a lifelong practice. Marriage, to them, isn't the end goal. It's the next big project, the next quest, the next wild, thrilling experiment. And if you enter that experiment with openness, humor, and a strong grip on your own identity, it just might become the greatest adventure of your life. Once in a committed marriage, Aries monkeys are anything but lazy. In fact, they treat their partnership like a startup, full of vision, passion, risk, and hustle. They want to build a life that's not only fulfilling but impressive. Whether it's launching a joint business, buying property abroad, or turning a passion into a profitable empire, they're constantly pushing for the next big thing. They don't just want a relationship that works, they want one that wins. That means growth is a non-negotiable. If you're not growing as individuals and as a team, they'll feel stuck, and restlessness will creep in like mold through a crack in the wall. Fights with an Aries monkey spouse? Oh, they're epic. Not necessarily loud or cruel, but dramatic. This isn't a couple that argues quietly and walks away. There are monologues, gestures, sometimes doors, and often, strangely, laughter. Because underneath the chaos, they respect a partner who can throw a punch, metaphorically speaking. They don't mind conflict, they mind indifference. They see passionate arguments as proof that the relationship is alive. But what they need in return is resolution. Aries monkey spouses don't hold grudges for long, but they do expect you to fight fair and recover quickly. Forgiveness, humor, and moving on, those are survival tools in their marital playbook. The ideal partner for an Aries monkey is someone who doesn't flinch at unpredictability. Someone who finds excitement in a last-minute change of plans, who can keep pace with their ambition, and who doesn't confuse structure with safety. Routine isn't their love language, stimulation is. They fall deeper in love with people who reinvent themselves, chase goals, and embrace the unknown. They appreciate stability, yes, but only if it comes with flexibility. A partner who tries to control them, restrict them, or, worst of all, bore them, will quickly find themselves dealing with a spouse who emotionally checks out, or subtly starts living a second life that doesn't include you. Parenthood with an Aries monkey is like opening a very creative daycare in the middle of a circus. They're not interested in raising obedient little robots. They want kids who are curious, bold, and a little rebellious. They're the parents organizing scavenger hunts at sunrise, teaching philosophy to toddlers, and encouraging their kids to launch their own lemonade stand empire before they can tie their shoes. Rules are flexible, creativity is sacred, and play is essential. Of course, they'll struggle with the monotonous parts of parenting, the scheduling, the patience, the endless repetition, but they'll compensate with magic, mischief, and memories their children will never forget. And let's not ignore the mayhem. With this sign combo, life together will include wild highs and disorienting lows. There will be moments when everything feels like it's moving too fast, when plans crash, when egos clash, when you wonder why things can't just be simple. But here's the secret. Aries Monkey marriages aren't supposed to be simple. They're built on motion, evolution, and shared madness. If you can laugh through the chaos, respect their independence, and challenge them just enough to keep the fire alive, you'll find yourself in the kind of marriage people write movies about: messy, magical, and unforgettable. In the end, Aries monkeys don't want a textbook romance. They want a love story that defies expectations. They want a partner who sees commitment not as a destination but as a dance, a dynamic, ever-changing rhythm of independence and union. If you can dance with them without stepping on their dreams, you'll discover that this wild, fiery soul can be not just a lifelong lover, but the fiercest, most loyal teammate you'll ever have. Sex. Raw energy plus playful mind games. Sex with an Aries monkey is not an act, it's an event. It's spontaneous combustion, a theatrical production, a wild roller coaster that starts without warning and doesn't stop until someone's either breathless or laughing, or both. This is where primal Aries fire meets the clever, chaotic energy of the monkey, and the result is an experience that's electric, unpredictable, and unforgettable. They don't just want to feel good, they want to explore, to dominate, to play, to test, to win. The bedroom becomes a stage for creative performance and private revolution. With them, sex is never background noise. It's the main event, the crescendo, the storyline they keep rewriting with every encounter. Aries monkeys bring a natural, almost intimidating confidence to intimacy. They walk into the bedroom like it's their territory, not out of arrogance, but because they know they're good at this. Their Aries nature pushes them toward raw, bold expression, while the monkey side is endlessly inventive, often turning sex into a series of delightful surprises. They're the lovers who suddenly pull out silk ties from under the bed, or suggest trying something new mid-session just to see how you'll react. They're not afraid to lead, in fact, they prefer it, but they're also fascinated by partners who can turn the tables. Every touch, every whisper, every pause is part of a game they're trying to win and savor. Routine is poison to them. Repetition kills their vibe. If the rhythm of intimacy becomes predictable, their interest starts to fade, no matter how emotionally attached they are. They crave freshness, even in long-term relationships. This doesn't mean they need a circus every night, but even a shift in mood, music, setting, or tone can reignite their fire. A spontaneous quickie in a surprising location? Yes. An elaborately planned night of seduction with costumes and storytelling? Absolutely. What matters is change, movement, a sense that anything could happen. For the Aries monkey, sex must evolve constantly, or it begins to feel like a chore, and they do not do well with chores. Power dynamics fascinate them. It's not always about physical dominance, it's often mental. They enjoy the slow burn of being outwitted, the edge of psychological tension, the seduction that happens long before clothes come off. Intellectual teasing, role reversal, light bondage, playful control games, all of this excites them. Consent and mutual respect are key, but they're definitely drawn to the idea of taking or being taken, of creating erotic scenarios that allow both partners to explore roles beyond their usual selves. For them, it's not about control in a toxic way. It's about theater, intensity, and tapping into layers of desire that words can't reach. Despite all this heat, vulnerability in sex isn't instant. Aries monkeys can easily separate the act from the emotion, at least at first. They may have many lovers before they ever share a true emotional connection in bed. Pleasure is easy for them to give and receive, but emotional surrender is earned. In the beginning, it may feel like they're present physically but distant emotionally, because they are. This isn't coldness, it's caution. The monkey part of them analyzes even while they're in the throes of passion, watching for signs of safety. But when true trust is established, when they feel respected, stimulated, and safe to be, the shift is profound. They go from playful performers to deeply intimate lovers. Their touch softens, their attention sharpens. They begin to let their guard down, not just undress, but unmask. And that's when the sex becomes not just exciting, but soul-deep. Sex with an Aries monkey is a journey through layers of fire and wit, ego and exploration, control and surrender. They want to be wanted, yes, but even more, they want to be understood. They want to be challenged, intrigued, surprised, and ultimately met in their complexity. If you bring creativity, confidence, and emotional intelligence to the table, you'll not only keep up, you'll unlock a lover who's as emotionally powerful as they are physically magnetic. But if you go on autopilot, if you shy away from the unfamiliar or become too predictable, don't be surprised if they drift. Not because they don't care, but because, for them, sex isn't just about closeness. It's about aliveness. In their world, desire is a language, and they speak it fluently, in every look, every touch, every daring suggestion whispered in the dark. Keep up, and they'll take you places you didn't even know your body or your mind could go. Friendship, the life of the party, the ghost of the group chat. An Aries monkey walks into a room and instantly becomes the gravitational center. You don't invite them to your party to fill space, you invite them to create atmosphere. They don't just join the energy, they amplify it. Whether it's a backyard barbecue, a destination wedding, or a spontaneous night out that somehow ends in karaoke at 3 a.m., they are the ones making it unforgettable. With their fast wit, expressive face, and a knack for telling stories that teeter on the edge of unbelievable but are somehow all true, they're not just a friend, they're an event. Everyone laughs harder, dances longer, and drinks more when an Aries monkey is around. And yet, just as quickly as they appear, they often vanish before the lights come on, slipping away with a mysterious smile and zero explanation. Being friends with an Aries monkey means learning to appreciate their highs without clinging during their lows. They operate in cycles of intensity. When they're locked in, you'll get texts at midnight full of plans and memes, surprise invitations, passionate pep talks, and 100 ideas for group trips, new hobbies, or joint projects. But when their attention shifts, whether to work, love, travel, or a brand new obsession, they become impossible to pin down. They'll ghost the group chat not out of malice, but because their mental browser has 47 tabs open and they forgot which one was yours. Their loyalty is genuine, but it doesn't always look like daily check-ins or shared calendars. It looks like showing up when it really matters, in times of crisis, change, or celebration, ready to fight, fix, or fund whatever their friend needs. Emotionally, they can be a paradox. On the surface, they're bold, expressive, full of big opinions and even bigger laughs. But try to pull them into a long, vulnerable conversation about feelings, and they may start cracking jokes or changing the subject. They're more comfortable doing than talking. If you're heartbroken, they'll take you out dancing or help you plot a revenge makeover before sitting down to dissect your emotions. If you need advice, they'll give it fast and unfiltered, not with the gentle cushion of diplomacy, but with the blunt edge of truth, because they care. And when chaos strikes, that's their moment. Aries monkey friends are built for emergency mode. They're decisive, creative, and surprisingly calm when the pressure's on. The kind of person who can talk to a tow truck driver, book a flight, and make you laugh through tears, all in the same hour. But friendship with them comes with fine print. Betrayal, even in small doses, is a deal breaker. They may seem easygoing and lighthearted, but cross a boundary, lie, gossip, manipulate, or fail them in a moment of real need, and they won't start a fight. They'll vanish, or worse, they'll stay quiet and reconfigure the entire group dynamic without a word, subtly shifting loyalties, charm, and social capital in their direction. It's not revenge, it's instinctual self-preservation. They don't confront betrayal unless it benefits them. They outmaneuver it, and you might not even realize it's happened until you're on the outside looking in. Despite all this unpredictability, they are deeply rewarding friends for those who understand their rhythm. If you don't take their flakiness personally and can handle a little emotional turbulence, they'll be fiercely in your corner. They'll talk you up in rooms you're not in. They'll hype your projects, defend your name, and offer real resources when you're in trouble. Aries monkeys may not always remember your birthday, but they'll remember your ambition, your sense of humor, your dreams, and they'll remind you who you were when you've forgotten. They're not the most consistent, but they're often the most impactful. Friendship with an Aries monkey is like owning a very fast, very rare sports car, thrilling, beautiful, and sometimes impossible to manage, but unforgettable when the engine roars to life. You don't become best friends with them by demanding more of their time. You become best friends by matching their energy, respecting their space, and never, ever underestimating their loyalty just because it doesn't look like everyone else's. They may disappear for weeks, but when they show up, they bring light, laughter, and a spark that makes you remember why you fell for their friendship in the first place. Business. Brilliant chaos that works. An Aries monkey in business is like a lightning strike in a boardroom, unpredictable, high voltage, and impossible to ignore. They're not just workers or managers, they're forces of nature. Ideas come to them like sparks in a wildfire, often too fast for others to keep up with. They leap into projects before the dust has settled on the last one, driven by adrenaline and fueled by an almost supernatural belief in their ability to pull off the impossible. Strategy? Sometimes. Gut instinct? Always. They don't just think outside the box, they set it on fire, dance in the ashes, and sell the smoke as a new product. If business is a game, they're playing 5 moves ahead, and they're rewriting the rules as they go. What makes them so effective is not just speed, but fearlessness. Aries monkey professionals don't wait for approval, perfect conditions, or someone else to go first. They move fast, take big risks, and bet on their own vision, often before anyone else even sees the opportunity. They thrive in environments where improvisation is an asset, where fast decisions are rewarded, and where unconventional thinking isn't just tolerated, it's expected. Corporate rigidity suffocates them. Endless policies, overly cautious protocols, and passive teams make them restless at best, and destructive at worst. They want action, disruption, and a little chaos. They perform best when the stakes are high and the timeline is short. That's when they stop thinking and start creating magic. Entrepreneurship is the natural home turf for this sign combo. Aries monkeys are born to build things from scratch. They're not afraid of empty spreadsheets, uncertain markets, or the grind of launching something no one else believes in yet. In fact, they love it. They're pioneers, creative hustlers, and trendsetters who don't wait to be asked, they just start. They're often early adopters of new technology, lovers of high-stakes pitches, and absolutely relentless when pursuing a vision. Give them a whiteboard, a phone, and a few hours, and they'll come back with a logo, a tagline, 3 investor meetings, and a viral marketing plan. They sell not just products or services, they sell belief. And people buy it, because confidence pours off them like cologne. But even visionaries have weak spots. For Aries monkeys, it's structure. Repetition kills their energy. Systems bore them. Long meetings make them silently plot their escape. Their brilliance lies in the spark, not the spreadsheet. That's why they need co-founders, managers, or support teams who can anchor them without dimming their light. People who can take the raw materials of their ideas and refine them into reality. If left to their own devices, Aries monkeys may start 10 brilliant projects and never finish one, not because they lack drive, but because something shinier always catches their eye. They're visionaries, not maintainers. They innovate, initiate, and inspire. Let someone else do the follow-through. When it comes to persuasion, Aries monkeys are masters. They can pitch an idea with such charm and passion that even skeptical investors lean in. Their confidence is contagious. They're fast talkers, quick thinkers, and fearless negotiators who don't just walk into rooms, they take them. They know how to read a room, adjust their tone, and find angles others miss. They might use humor, logic, emotion, often all in the same sentence. And because they genuinely believe in their ability to win, others believe in it too. That belief, combined with hustle and vision, often tips the scales in their favor, even when the odds aren't. In short, the Aries monkey in business is a paradox that works, a chaotic genius with laser focus when it counts. They're the ones who break the ceiling, shake up the system, and start movements, often before anyone even realizes something big is happening. Give them space, trust their instincts, and surround them with people who turn fire into fuel, and you'll have a leader who doesn't just succeed in business, they change it. Dark sides. Charming and dangerous. Let's get real. beneath the charisma and brilliance of the Aries monkey lies a dangerous undercurrent that can erupt with surprising force. When out of balance, this personality isn't just difficult, it's volatile. Their confidence, when left unchecked, mutates into unchecked ego. What once felt magnetic now reads as manipulative. What once seemed witty becomes cutting and cruel. These individuals know how to command attention, spin narratives, and dominate social energy, but when they're emotionally off-center, they use those same skills for control instead of connection. You won't always see the storm coming. It arrives smiling, masked in charm, cloaked in brilliance. But the damage? Real, fast, and deeply personal. Manipulation is one of their darker tools, and they're good at it. With the Aries monkey, you're often 3 steps into a conversation before you realize you've been redirected, softened, or tricked into compliance. They understand social dynamics like a chessboard. They know what you want to hear, how to make you say yes, and how to walk away with the upper hand, all while making you feel like it was your idea. This trait, combined with their natural impulsiveness, can make them dangerous when they're feeling threatened or disrespected. They won't always argue directly. Sometimes they'll seduce, distract, or subtly undermine. A smile on their face, an agenda behind their eyes. And if they've decided they've outgrown you, they won't fight, they'll disappear. They ghost not out of cruelty, but because discomfort makes them flee. Facing the wreckage they've caused is not their strong suit. Emotionally, they are extremely sensitive to status, admiration, and control. Jealousy can sneak up on them and explode suddenly, especially if someone dares to challenge their position as the smartest, most admired, or most in-demand person in the room. If they feel eclipsed, whether by a romantic partner, a colleague, or a friend, their darker side kicks in. Sarcasm sharpens, subtle sabotage begins, and their energy turns combative. It may not be overt, they're too strategic for open warfare, but it'll show in backhanded compliments, passive-aggressive remarks, and a sudden cooling of enthusiasm. What used to be support turns into critique. What used to be collaboration turns into silent competition. They don't always want to win, they just refuse to lose. Their biggest emotional blind spot? Trust, not because they're inherently disloyal, but because they understand, more than most, how easily loyalty can be faked. They know the power of charm. They use it every day, so they naturally suspect others of doing the same. Their distrust isn't paranoia, it's projection. They assume others are as calculating as they are at their worst. And this assumption can make deep intimacy difficult. They might test people endlessly, set up emotional traps, or withhold affection just to see who sticks around. The irony? They desperately want loyalty, but they often sabotage the conditions that allow it to grow. Left unchecked, these darker tendencies spiral. The Aries monkey becomes someone who constantly needs to be right, who dominates conversations, who belittles others to maintain control. They may chase adrenaline at the expense of ethics, make reckless decisions in the name of freedom, start fires they don't plan to put out, and all the while, they'll convince themselves they're justified, that the world is just too slow, too soft, too wrong to keep up with them. This mindset isolates them, even as their surface remains attractive to others. They become a charming hurricane, always surrounded, never connected. So how do they escape their own shadows? The key is self-awareness and accountability. These individuals need grounding influences, friends, mentors, partners who see through the performance and aren't afraid to call them out. People who set boundaries, who refuse to be manipulated, who love them deeply, but not blindly. And even more importantly, they need to stop running from the stillness, the quiet moments where reflection happens. Because when they pause long enough to look in the mirror, they can start entangling ego from identity, reaction from intention, performance from truth. In the end, the Aries monkey's darkness isn't fixed, it's reactive. It flares up in fear, competition, or unchecked ambition. But when confronted with honesty, structure, and real emotional risk, they're capable of transformation. They can channel their immense energy into leadership, their charm into influence, and their cleverness into wisdom. But only if they choose to confront the storm they carry, not just unleash it. Life goals. To shine, to win, to change the game. For the Aries monkey, life isn't just a journey. It's a challenge, a performance, and an experiment all rolled into one. They don't wake up wondering how to get through the day. They wake up wondering how to dominate it. Their soul burns with purpose, and that purpose is rarely small. They're not here to play supporting roles or stay within the lines. From the moment they understand what ambition feels like, they're off like a rocket, driven by some inner fire to stand out, to lead, to change something that the rest of the world hasn't even noticed yet. Life, to them, is a playground full of rules waiting to be rewritten, trophies waiting to be won, and spotlights waiting to be stepped into. This isn't about shallow glory. While Aries monkeys love recognition, what they're really chasing is impact. They want to leave dents in the universe, to be remembered not just for what they did but how they did it, differently, boldly, unapologetically. Whether they become groundbreaking entrepreneurs, visionary artists, revolutionary thinkers, charismatic leaders, or unexpected disruptors, they crave a legacy that goes beyond success. They want to shift culture, bend perception, and turn impossible dreams into tangible proof that they were here. The worst fate for them? Blending in, being average, living a life that's fine but forgettable. Ambition is coded into their DNA, not the quiet kind, but the kind that makes them charge ahead when others hesitate. They're not afraid of risk. In fact, risk excites them. If there's no danger of failure, it doesn't feel worth doing. That's the Aries fire talking, bold, fearless, sometimes reckless. And the monkey amplifies it with clever strategy, charm, and timing. This combo is the ultimate storm. They dream fast, move faster, and often pivot before anyone else sees the need. They'll walk away from comfort to chase a vision, endure mockery to test a theory, and stand alone if they believe it's the price of innovation. To the Aries monkey, fear is just another tool to master. But all that fire has its cost. The speed and intensity with which they pursue goals can lead them straight into burnout, disillusionment, or emotional isolation. The same people who once applauded their drive may fall away when the pace becomes unsustainable, and that's often when the Aries monkey is forced to slow down and ask deeper questions. It's usually not success that brings them to their spiritual awakening, it's failure. Or emptiness, or grief. Something stops them in their tracks and demands that they look inward, not just outward. That they seek connection, not just progress. And often, for the first time, they realize that not every mountain needs to be climbed, some just need to be understood. But let's be honest, even when spirituality arrives, the Aries monkey won't lose their ambition. They'll probably rebrand their enlightenment, turn meditation into a method, package their transformation into a book, a brand, a message they can share. And that's not a flaw, it's who they are. They don't separate self-discovery from purpose, they blend it. They don't go inward to withdraw from the world, they go inward to re-enter it with even more clarity and fire. In their minds, growth isn't about sitting still, it's about evolving, then teaching others how to do the same. Their ultimate life goal is simple but massive: to live loudly, lead boldly, and die with nothing left unsaid or untried. They want to inspire, disrupt, entertain, elevate, and provoke. They want their name attached to movements, inventions, creations, or ideas that shift people's thinking. And even when they slow down, even when the fire flickers, their legacy keeps moving, because they've built something that lasts. The Aries monkey was never meant to follow someone else's blueprint. They're here to draw new maps, break the system open, and remind the world that greatness belongs to those who dare to be too much. Their life is not just about climbing the ladder. It's about burning it and building an elevator that moves at their speed, and maybe even takes others with them. In conclusion, the Aries monkey is not just a personality, they're a full-spectrum experience. A living, breathing contradiction wrapped in charisma and chaos, passion and play, vision and vulnerability. They're the person you meet once and never forget. The friend who vanishes for months, then shows up with a life-changing idea. The lover who makes you feel like the only person in the world, and then challenges you to keep up or get out of the way. They are electric, magnetic, and often maddening. And yet, you can't help but be drawn in. Because underneath all the noise, all the brilliance, and all the boldness, there's something deeply real. A spark of truth, a core of sincerity, and a soul that craves connection, even if it doesn't always know how to ask for it. Loyalty, for the Aries monkey, runs hot and fast. When they care, they really care. They'll fight for you, build with you, celebrate you, and lift you higher than you thought you could go. But they can also be selfish, not out of cruelty, but because their engine is always running at max speed, and sometimes they forget to check who's in the passenger seat. They want to give, but only after they've chased their own fire. They can be the most generous, selfless presence in your life, until they hit a wall, feel trapped, or sense that their freedom is under threat. That's when the storm hits. And loving them means learning to dance in that storm, not just bask in the sun. Their fun is infectious. They bring laughter into rooms that felt heavy, color into conversations that were dull, and movement into moments that were stuck. But that fun often masks a quieter truth: anxiety, overthinking, or a deep fear of stillness. They keep moving because motion makes them feel alive, because silence sometimes feels too loud, and because their mind, always racing, is both their greatest tool and their hardest cage. They may laugh the loudest and shine the brightest, but that doesn't mean they don't wrestle with self-doubt. They just hide it better than most. And if you ever catch a glimpse of that vulnerability, treat it with care, because it's rare, and it's real. Honesty is a virtue they wear like armor, sharp, gleaming, and occasionally too heavy. They tell it like it is, often before they've thought about the cost. Their words can heal or slice, depending on how centered they are. And when they're off balance, that honesty can twist into manipulation. Not because they're malicious, but because they're strategic. They know how to spin, how to charm, how to redirect, and when they're in defense mode, they'll use every tool in the box to regain control. But here's the difference between an immature and evolved Aries monkey. The former uses charm to get what they want. The latter uses it to build trust. The evolution is possible, and when it happens, the transformation is incredible. To love an Aries monkey is to commit to a life of motion. You will never be bored, but you will be tested. You will feel alive, but you will also have to stand your ground. You'll laugh harder, think faster, move bolder, but only if you're willing to let go of control and step into the wild. And if you are an Aries monkey, know this: you are rare, you are powerful, and you are capable of extraordinary things. Your fire can ignite change. Your wit can disarm pain. Your energy can build empires. But only when you remember to stay grounded in truth, not performance. Character, not just charisma. Because the world doesn't just need your spark. It needs your substance. It needs your wisdom, your kindness, your discipline, your heart. You were born to light up rooms, but your real legacy is how you make people feel once the lights go out. Shine bright, burn real, and above all, stay human.